whispering inside of me. Guide I feel peace and harmony. It is in silence that we will always hear. Sit quiet and meditate, let the good vibes infiltrate. Even when it's dark, don't you ever have no fear, yeah. Cast away your troubles, I say, just for a moment or a day, yeah. Guiding I eternally. Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I. Whispering inside of me. Guide I feel peace and harmony. Our inner voice, hey, it guides us along the way, yeah. In the night, oh yeah, this I heard it say. Lift up your heart, take it to the higher plane, yeah. Where there is joy, there is no more pain. Guiding I eternally. Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I. Whispering inside of me. Guide I feel peace and harmony. Be still and listen within, yeah. Do you hear the voice that's whispering, yeah. A message of hope, love and unity, yeah. To all mankind, all humanity. Guide I. Guide I. Guide I. Guide I. Guide
All praise unto the Most High. His last year. Rastafari. Abolish slavery right now. Pharaoh, let my children go. Hey. Africa, prepare, cause I'm coming home. Black man, prepare, cause we going home. Africa, prepare, I and I coming home. People prepare, cause we are going home.
Metamorphosis.
The joy you bring you, my song I sing you, the fire within you, the struggle continue, let's just begin you. We got to win you, the prosecute and trim you, still praise the king you. Got to be bold and brave, they call you, settle us, they call you, peace slave now, look at you, with the length of days, give praise, fire off the blaze. Africa prepare, cause I'm coming home. Black man prepare, cause we going home. Africa prepare, I and I coming home. People prepare, cause you're going home. No equal rights, not justice, no schools, no jobs, the more they use the book is. They do some farming, they get up to blow up me progress. Babylon can't touch this. Look to the east for the crowning of your king. That's the way you are should go. Best most I ever live in God a place. And I'm living in a my flow. Africa prepare, cause I'm coming home. Black man prepare, cause we going home. thing. No, I'm the light of the world. What a thing. Bundum Rome, Bundum Babylon, they can't stop fighting. They always fight for us. Them not go make me frost. I come to lead the mass. All them a chat are redemption. I want Bubbles and Teeth, repatriation. Tell them a redemption. I want
Metamorphosis.
Repatriation. Bongo Naya, woo. Africa prepare, cause I'm coming home. People prepare, cause we are going home. Africa prepare, I and I coming. Sarah, I'm just a bun bubble, I'm not here. I ain't giving up, keep on living up. I'm indigenous. What the money will I still last year? Rastafari. You live on rain in the heart of all flesh. The conquering lion. Crown king of kings, lord of lords, the lioness. So I am now, repatriation is a must in Ethiopia, Africa. Boom. Rastaman, we're taking over. And we've got nothing to fear, we're taking over. Righteousness, may declare we're taking over. And we've got nothing to fear. Come on, let me see your hands in the air. Taking over. And we've got nothing to fear, we're taking over. Righteousness, may declare we're taking over. And we've got nothing to fear. Come on. Well, yo, pause a full time now. Let that trumpet sound. A full time now. Babylon going down. A full time now. Let the youth them we are the ground. Yo, in the country and the town. Hungry defended, keep the close. Sick minority protected. Infants decayed for. Me and Babylon now go par. Tell them me and dirty Babylon always a war. Now go do me and none of them cookie jar. Police boy for lax, but Tamar, him go mar. The soldier boy for lax, but Tamar, him go mar. So him and the Pope and the bitch, one go par. Flash the last, flash the lightning that me tell the gun bar. The last roll the thunder that me tell the gun bar. Them last them ways, them no know who them are. Well let me tell you you're the first and a morning star. No for them a black, most of them a top and all. King Selassie is the almighty star. Emmanuel Ade, all your priest your star. Marcus a me, black prophet your star. The black Comanche a me, black man a your star. Selassie bless him, don't let chalice when just shut up. Most of them a smoke them Cuban cigar. Must smoke me marijuana in a me van or me car. War, cause a full time now. Rise the youth from the slum. A full time now. Make the fire one burn. A full time now. Speak the truth from my tongue. Dirty Babylon, you're coming down to yo, we taking over. And we've got nothing to fear, we taking over. Righteousness, me I declare me taking over. And we've got nothing to fear. Come on, let me see your dance in the air, we taking over. And we've got nothing to fear, we taking over.
Dinastilin. Greetings. Chanting down room. Eli. Giving thanks and praises for another opportunity to sit in at the Styles FM. Giving thanks and praise that there are listeners out there who are keen on transforming themselves to integrating the me, the myself, and the I. Searching for that inner power that is the I. Greetings again, Eli, give thanks again. World is in a different state continuously, and the metamorphosis is here to keep ones and ones in tune with themselves. I am your host, I am Dr. Iman Blak. I am here to steer you through the proceedings, and hopefully at the end of the metamorphosis you're closer to thy own self. Greater knowledge, greater power, less fear. Things to go through. I must first of all, I want to give thanks to my brethren in the previous program, Ras Makonnen, to come and share his insights and outsights. I also want to thank the visitor from Canada who passed through Styles FM. The name is Anne. Why the last name get me? What you got, Cassidy? Juicy Max. Yes. I want to give thanks to Juicy Max for leaving me this very, very nice. Yes, Mariah. Right, I'm saying thank you for traveling so far and bringing gifts unto Iman with a little note that says, knowledge is key. And of course, I thought about that simple line and really wanted to reflect on that line and ask myself the question, the key to fit into what? And what should the key to knowledge open? I will say no more about that for now. I also want to thank my newest set of family out on the Kent Jones Highway, Amira and our Kingman, and all of those who are into the farming and the production of food. Again, just giving thanks for the gift of food and fruits, and thanking the drivers who move along the roads between St. Thomas and Portland, and between Portland and Kingston. Plenty travails and tricks on the road. Yell up the Taros, and the rest of the man they moved up on the road, you know. The driver tell me say him hand them tired. The way him have to handle the patrol them. The steering wheel make him hand them tired. But it takes a lot of courage and stamina to stay on that route. And so of course we're giving thanks for the stamina of the drivers on the roads of Jamaica. The program in this edition now wants to look at some things that are very topical and some things that are deeply historical. I want to look into the sections again, I word, sound and power, looking into identity. This time we want to focus on the gender identity, because we see a trend now where clothing is becoming indiscriminate, meaning we can't define clothing anymore between masculine and feminine, because the males seem to be invading the territory that used to be females, as much as the females are trying to insist that they are also can be like males. So having a serious conflict and it's coming out on this island here, and I want to deal with the issue of gender and race. I was also present at a Marcus Garvey celebration at the University of the West Indies, a play put on by Michael Holgate. Very, very brilliant output. But the downside of that was the launching of a Garvey bust, an image that's supposed to represent Garvey. Is the most atrocious thing I've ever seen. And it speaks to the University of the West Indies still being a bastion of colonialism. That such an image could come out and be approved. And it has nothing, no semblance of Marcus Garvey. It looks like a broken house slave. And so I will speak to that. And why is it? The island is struggling for its own identity as a black nation. What is it? How can we resolve Garvey's philosophy with the Jamaican motto? The Jamaican motto says, out of many, one people. And Garvey says, race first. Those two ideologies are not compatible. One must be dominant. And it's obvious that the out of many is set up to protect the minority races in the country. And race first is all about promoting the majority race. And so we have this great schism in Jamaica. So I will try to flesh that out as we go through the metamorphosis. I also want to look into our story, Alkebulan, and speak to a people called the Bantuana people from Zimbabwe, and their contribution to the knowledge of astronomy. And how is it Africans in Ghana are now developing a sort of radio telescope and improving their computer scientific knowledge? And how does that help to liberate black people globally? There's also the section where we're going to deconstruct some mythologies and some allegories. And we want to look into the book of Genesis, the book that has confounded some of our greatest intellects. Because I am suggesting that it is in this book that the confusion begins. And we want to look into the program tonight to see if we can find out what is the nature of black man's history before the so-called floods of Noah. What is the culture and history of black people before Noah's flood? What were Chinese people doing before the floods of Noah? And the book of Genesis speaks about giants that were in the earth. Genesis 6, chapter 4. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. Those who are biblical scholars can turn to that right away and begin to explore who are the giants of the earth, and who are the sons of God, and who are the daughters of men. And how do these people fit into African history? And is it a fact that biblical history overpowers African history and forces us to accept a beginning that is described by the book of Genesis? Of course, there's also Afrocentric views and news. Serious events happening today in Manchester. Bomb goes off after a concert, 20 people dead, 50 people injured. The argument is that it is a suicide bomber. And the world is even more unsafe as Trump goes to Saudi Arabia and sells $1 billion worth of arms. How does that affect the globe? How does that affect I and I as African people? And then we'll make a small reference to the world of sports. All the international club leagues are coming to a close. Our local league is at the final stages. Arnett Gardens awaiting the winner of Portmore versus UA. And I want to speak a bit about the Eastern Confederation and why is it this region is having such a hard time representing itself at the National Premier League. And of course, another point of reference for people who are interested in art and exhibition and culture and drumming. There's a activity happening, an art exhibition taking place at the Pantry. This is in Kingston, 2 Dumfries Road. It's called The Gathering. It's an arts exhibition. It's being headed by Portland's great Ambokili, Philip Henry. It will involve 20 of Jamaica's top artists with guest speakers and live music and poetry and drama and drumming. And so I encourage you ones and ones to participate in this event. It's on March 26th, 27th and 28th at the Pantry. So those are the basic things, and the metamorphosis shall continue. #26th of May. Right, so we're saying Ambokili things is this weekend. May 26th at the Pantry, Dumfries Road, Kingston. And we're treading on.
We've been traveling more than 2,000 miles, more than 2,000 miles. Can't get no, shady tree, race, can't get no shady tree, race, the sun so red hot, race, hotter than hot, race, let me tell you, this is the song we were singing, coming along, oh yes, coming along, oh yes, coming along, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Wappa to the wide, to the wap wap why, you wappa to the wide, to the wap wap why, you wappa to the wide, to the wap wap why. This is the song we were singing. Coming along. Wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide. We've been traveling, wappa to the wide, more than 2,000 miles, wappa to the wide. Can't get no shady tree, wappa to the wide. Our head, wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide. Some so red hot, wappa to the wide, hotter than hot, wappa to the wide. Let me, wappa to the wide. This is the song we were singing, wappa to the wide. Coming along. Wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide, wappa to the wide, wap 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 to the wide, to the wap 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 to the wide, to the wap 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 to the wide.
So gather up your tools and your instruments, your pen and your paper, your Bible and your map, and your whatever it is you embrace to hold the meditation. Metamorphosis is here, live.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-price promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Are you sick of living an average life and tired of just getting by? Do you you want to take your life to the next level? Learn the secrets of the super successful. Listen to Power in a Half Hour with Coach Mark this and every Wednesday night on Styles FM from 9 to 10 p.m. Learn the habits of the super successful and how to make these habits work for you. Learn to turn your dreams and desires into reality. You can win in the game of life. Let Coach Mark show you how. Every Wednesday night on Styles FM from 9 to 10 p.m.
Hey, Styles FM peeps, do you want to blend in with the Styles FM family? Do you got styles all day, every day? If your answer is yes, then purchase your Styles FM t-shirts today. We have sizes ranging from small to extra large, only for you, our noble listeners. Be a part of the Styles FM family by making your order for our comfortable and high-quality t-shirts now for only $2,000. Stocks are limited, so get your Styles FM t-shirts today. Call 286-9216 to place your order.
Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Boundbrook Crescent, Port Antonio. For a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast to order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge. Beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the Metamorphosis with Dr. Iman Blak, live on Styles FM, Mondays 9 p.m. to midnight. Call Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House at 715-1644.
Metamorphosis is here. We're into the section that is called I, Word, Sound, and Power. And in this section of the program, I deal with issues of identity, issues of language, and the important aspect I want to focus on in this program now is the identity that is grounded in gender. Because we're having serious problems in the African community, in the black community, as the youths are seemingly confused and the identity issues are becoming more complex as the North American influence overwhelms our society, particularly through the media and through the music. Now, it's important that we understand the importance of identity. And identity really is a centerpiece of your consciousness, your identity. Everything rotates and revolves around the I, identity. The I as an entity, we can call it the identity. So that I entity, we need to be very, very careful what we attach to it. Whether we put things to tie it up or whether we find ways to liberate that I entity. Now that I identity comes from the time of inception. And we need to also recognize the importance of physiology and anatomy and biology. The Africans have been the producers of sciences on this planet. All the sciences. And I have been the founders. But because of the disconnection and the apparent amnesia There's a great forgetfulness within the consciousness of African people, that there's a debate amongst our own selves as to who we are. And you always hear about people saying that if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you're going. And everybody thinks that that is a logical argument. And most people try to resolve it by saying, well, I as African, and I come from Africa, and that is sufficient. But then we never ever ask, where did Africans come from? And when you begin to ask about where did Africans come from, you begin to be led into mythologies. So as much as we have been ultimately taught that Africa is the birthplace of civilizations on the planet, there is still a confusion, because there is still no real reasoning as to how did Africans get onto the continent of Africa. Where did the Africans come from to get onto the continent? And once we begin to talk about come from and beginning, we go into mythology. And mythology that has been clamped on black people's imagination is a mythology that has been presented in the book of Genesis, that King James Version. So as much as we are feeling liberated in claiming to be Africans, there's still a confusion as to the genesis of the African. So the metamorphosis is going to go into those corners and search out the genesis of the African. If there was a first African, where did that first African come from? Are we stuck in the genesis of the Bible to find our beginning? Or can we find our beginning before the Bible were even written? But to speak about beginning, we have to speak at the individual level first. And the individuals, as far as I know, come through a process. That process is manifested in the animal kingdom, in the plant kingdom, and it's manifested among the kingdom of man. The process is called procreation. Procreation. And this process really involves the meeting of two life forms. We're talking about literally invisible forms of life, non-visible forms of life. And at the base level, we are brought to the consciousness of the sperm. And then we are soul of its complementary force, which is the egg. And as far as African people know, this is the starting point for all individuals, all persons, as far as I know. We also are given the knowledge that we can classify both of these energies within the realms of masculine and feminine, male and female. So we have these as a starting point. And whenever the egg and the sperm collides in that vastness of the womb, in that blackness of that universe, there is a unification, and the two become one. And that one has a center. That one develops a center of consciousness, awareness. And that is the center that I speak to as the I. Now, the I will evolve through time within the body. And as the cells multiply and go through meiosis and mitosis, multiply and divide, it moves from 2 cells to hundreds of cells, to millions of cells, into billions of cells. These take greater shape into forming tissues and organs, and becomes a site for consciousness. The consciousness in its initial is grounded in its physicality. But as time elapses, there is another dimension of consciousness that emerges. This is a consciousness that we speak to as the I consciousness. So we can speak about the me, and we can speak about the I. And to expand the notion of identity now, once the multiplication reaches a certain level and organs begin to form, we know that the first organ form is the skin. And so there is feeling. And we know that the brain develops later on, which leaves open the capacity for thinking. So there are two basic functions: feeling and thinking. And there's the I, and there's the me. And these will grow over time. And then when the fetus develops to a level that it feels that it's tired of being inside, I'm tired of being fed through the umbilical cord, and developing a sense of independence, of self-reliance, it means it's time to come out. Some come out 7 months, some come out earlier, some come out 9 months. It all depends on the strength and the power of the I. So at birth, we are confused in our knowledge, thinking that when the child comes out, that is birth. And I will continue to insist that the birth actually is the inception, the moment the egg and the sperm connect. So if you have that experience happening within your body as a female for 9 months, when that child tired inside and decide to come out, we must be cognizant that the consciousness of that child is 9 months in advance and not day one, as the Roman society has us believing. So that infant, that individual, has an identity. And the identity is driven first and foremost by the nature of the skin and the nature of the hair. And these we call racial identity. This gives the infant an identity grounded in a racial construct. So the eyes, the hair, the skin, foundation structures help to define the race. The child also develops certain types of organs. And if the child manifests testes and penis, the child is defined as a male. And if a child manifests a vagina, the child is defined as a female. If the child has both organs, the child is defined as a hermaphrodite. Because each being is driven by hormones, and each being has both female and male hormones. So how do we define the I in its growing pattern, infant stage? The society begins to condition the child and its parent with colors. And they tell you that if it's a female, the female, you must dress the child in pink. And if it's a male, you must dress the male in blue. And so the society begins to create these ways of distinction between male and female. As a youth coming through the school system, we were told that there are 3 genders. There's a male, there's a female, and there's a gender that is called neuter. Neuter gender means the object is neither male nor female, so we can call it it. And so that has been the basic framework of looking at gender. Male, female, and neuter gender. But you know, as times and things have evolved, and experimentation has been going on, and enslavement as a process, and now into this modern world, we're having all sort of confusion in the identity of gender. And two of the basic operations of an individual is to think and or feel, and these are manifested in behavior. So, the males are defined as being masculine, and there's a certain type of behavior that we ascribe to the masculine, and likewise there's a certain type of behavior ascribed to the feminine. The activities are basically similar, for the exception that it is a female that brings forth the fruit of life, and it's the male who does the planting. So some people will argue that that is the basic difference between the male and the female. One can hold the seed, one has a womb, and the other one is the creator of the seed. And so therefore that one is a planter, one is the earth. And that has been the sort of dynamics within African societies and cultures from time immemorial. The society also puts certain responsibilities on both gender. It puts a responsibility on the male to carry out certain functions, and likewise there are certain responsibilities attached to the female to carry out certain functions, and all of these things are supposed to be working in tandem, complementing each other, because ultimately now it is the male and the female that lays the foundation for the family, and the family is a basic unit of a community. It's a basic unit of a society. It's a basic unit of any civilization. And if you tamper with that unit, you're tampering with the civilization of the people. So I have always been conditioned socially and psychologically as males to be protectors and sometimes to be leaders, but primarily to be protectors. Protectors of the female and protectors of the children. The female, of course, has her duties to be the bearers of children, to be the holding force in the family, and to provide all the requirements to keep the household together. Now, in this present dispensation, we are having all sorts of difficulties in relations, we're having difficulties in families, we're having difficulties in communities, and of course we have a great problem in the African nation, in the black nation. And the foundation of much of these problems rests in our overstanding or misunderstanding of how to relate at the level of gender. So males within the African context have always been encouraged to be strong, to be talented, to be able to generate revenue, to be able to manage resources, to be able to be a provider. But some things have happened over the last, let us say, 100 years. Things have happened even before that, because our system came under attack during the enslavement period. And when I'm speaking of enslavement now, I'm not just talking about European invasion, you know. We're talking first and foremost about the Arabs and the destruction of African society by the Arabs. The Arabs have destroyed more of Africa than all the European nations put together. The same Arabs that Trump visiting now, the same Saudi Arabians. These are people who have absolutely no respect for African people or for black people. But the education system conditions us to just think that it is European alone that is the enemy. So when we embracing Islam, we have to stop and check, because Islam is no liberation for black people. Islam was brought into Africa by the enslaving Arabs. And even today, the Arabians are still castrating Africans and still turning Africans into slaves. And we don't pay much attention to them because we are preoccupied with the white man. But the identity issue now becomes more complex because in today's world, even on the island today, or even in North America per se, the clothing issue has reared its head again. There was a time when women were not allowed to wear pants because pants was a sign of a masculine, of a male. And then the white women in America started this feminist movement as they were slaves to their white men and they were in rebellion to the white man. And in their rebellion, they attract a lot of black women who call themselves intellectual. And they now join this feminist movement, not recognizing that black women have never had the same issues with their black man as a white woman with their white man. Because there is no real time in African history where the African woman was ever considered to be a slave. She was always highly respected. Our deities had a female in it. Osiris didn't rule by himself. There was Isis. So when these academic and intellectual black women began to join this feminist movement, they began to actually begin to fight against their own black man. And we're not claiming that the black man has been in a great statue of honor, you know. But it's still the black man. And many of our women who became intellectual and academic joined this white feminist movement. These white women were fighting for a different type of freedom from the white man, who always viewed her as a helpmeet, always viewed her as a servant, always saw her as the Eve coming out of the rib of himself, who is Adam. And I don't have that Genesis. I will explore that as we go through the metamorphosis. So we're taking the concepts of the Europeans, of how they view each other, and we begin to apply it to one another as black people. And it's pure ism and schism happening. So you have these black women now who claim that they are being liberated. What they're doing is separating themselves now from black man, which is the key to the destruction of the black civilization. And they don't seem to be conscious of that. They're claiming that they're now independent and them can mind them own self and them don't need no man. They don't understand that they're falling into the trap that destroys African societies, African family systems, by simply separating the male from the female. Now the males are confused. And the children of these single women, these women who think that they can be father and mother, and think that they can turn a male child into a man. We're seeing a lot of males now behaving much like females. Very effeminate. That when the pants goes onto the waist, that is how men wear them pants. But women wear them pants by hip. And these women growing up these boys now and putting pants on the boys' hips and calling them cute. So these little young boys now are growing up with the concept of being cute. My mother tell me say that even monkeys are cute. So don't nobody tell you about you're cute. And in this cuteness now, it has been such a disease that the clothing that these males wear don't look masculine anymore. Currently, there's a thing called rampa or rampim. Some kind of girly clothing that men are wearing. Yeah, so the men who are wearing these garments that were designed for women don't understand what they're doing. They're bringing greater confusion into the African race. Confusion within the identity of gender. So now, in the early time it was he and she and it. Now we have him and her and shim. We have intersex now. We have transsexuals. We have transvestite. We have all kind of deviations. And African people need a certain sense of awareness. We can't join everything. So the next thing you're going to hear is that the man them going to start wear all bra. Yeah. And the man then the males them going to start wear everything female, and there actually seems as if there's a competition between men and females. Not man, you know. Men and females. So the cute guys now fixing up them eyebrow. They're actually competing with the women for a man. This is a very serious thing happening to the black society. We have to call it out. So this new outfit that is being presented as unisexual clothes. You have to be very careful how we deal with yourself, you know. Because in North America, which is the trendsetter, we have two women becoming men. Then they try to adopt children. And the children end up with two daddies. And one of the daddies is a mommy. Or there's two mummies. And one of the mummies is a daddy. So if you look on the road, 5, 10, 20 years from now, mass confusion in black society. We are already being heavily affected by the bleaching syndrome. By people trying to disguise their identity and create an impression that they're actually of a different race. This race they're calling brown. But it's just an illusion, because the so-called brown race only exists on an island called Jamaica. When these brown people go to other countries, they have to be faced the reality of being black and being African. So I have to constantly be vigilant and realize that we have identity issues. And the identity is the center of your consciousness. And if you are disturbed in your identity, you are disturbed in your consciousness. Metamorphosis. So when we're going to talk about identity, and we talk about the I as the center of that entity, the I must be able to speak in the affirmative. And the first statement of affirmation of the I is I am. I am. The highest statement of affirmation. But what do you say I am what? Can you clearly say I am male? And can you clearly say I am female? Or are you saying that I am male, but I dress and walk and talk like a female? We need consciousness then. Because the race, to promote itself, must engage in procreation. And procreation is a union of the male and the female. So we have to be very clear in how we develop those offsprings that we call children. That they get a sense of identity very early. And I'm suggesting that it's the first 3 years that literally all of these things become cemented. First 3 years, images are created in the imagination, and the eye must remain consistent. And as black people, we must not cross the line into this unknown dimension of mixed gender if we want to maintain the continuity of I and I race. Those who try to tell us that race is not important still insist that race is important because we are humans. The Africans have been here long before the concept of human even existed. The African cannot embrace the notion of being human. The African is man, males and females, with the I at the center of consciousness.
Have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
Remember Styles FM on social media. View us on YouTube, Styles FM Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Styles FM. Like us on Twitter at Styles FM 961. Become a fan on Facebook, Styles FM 96.1.
Architects, draftsmen, and surveyors, get your drawings printed in high-quality professional standards. We can satisfy your printing needs. Whether it is for presentation to your clients or for submitting building and subdivision application, make it VJ Printing Services. Whether drawing by hand or with computer-aided softwares, we will plot your negatives and print the copies as you need. We do high-quality white paper printing that is water-resistant and never fades, unlike traditional blueprint. For more information, call VJ Printing at 893-2266.
Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Boundbrook Crescent, Port Antonio. For a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge. Beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the Metamorphosis with Dr. Iman Blak, live on Styles FM, Mondays, 9 p.m. to midnight. Call Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House at 715-1644.
Metamorphosis continuing into the section that we call Al-Kibulan. This section deals with our story. It deals with what would be considered to be my story. But oftentimes my story, which is the African story, is always considered to be a mystery. Yeah, my story is always a mystery. And we are given his story as a reality. But because of our greatness and the fact that we have done so many great things on this earth, that much of it cannot be hidden. Much has been burned up, much has been wiped away, much has been stolen. Much of our artifacts have been removed from the continent and been put away in museums and libraries in Europe. But there are certain things that the Europeans couldn't move. Like they couldn't move the great structures in Zimbabwe. They couldn't move the pyramids in the Sudan, nor the pyramids of Egypt. Those things remain permanent structures on the earth as evidence of a great society. But the European historians often try to confuse I and I by telling us that Africans were unable to create anything. And they try to dismiss our history. But if we look into the continent itself, at the magnificent architecture and monuments that have been created, it is an awakening. Because African people in general have been given the King James Bible as our reference, as a book wherein we have been told that it is a book of truth, and that in that book are the words of God. And the God is a one God. The Africans before the one God concept always recognized the power of the many gods. Not just the masculine gods, but also the feminine gods. Englishmen call that goddess. So long before we were invaded by the Arabs and later by the Europeans, the ancient Africans had their constructions and concepts of divinities and deities. But the Christian Bible keeps us focused on Ethiopia and Egypt. And it disconnects us from the rest of the continent. So I want to speak of other sections of Africa, other sections of Al-Kibulan, like in the south. And I want to speak specifically now to the people of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is not mentioned in the Bible. So you need to know that Zimbabwe exists. All we hear about is Egypt and Ethiopia. But the people of Zimbabwe are very, very special people in the history of Africa. And there are a specific group of people in Zimbabwe called the Bantwana. Bantwana. And I'm encouraging all those who are interested in reading and researching to have a look at these people. Bantwana, the Bantwana people of Zimbabwe. They occupy areas near the Zambezi River. As I said, these are not people who are put into the history book of Europeans. So most African people, most black people are unaware, even our so-called academics. And what makes these people stand out is something very, very significant in their own history. When the Europeans speak of the people of Bantwana or the Vadoma people, they make reference to the feet of these people, them foot, and try to describe these people as freaks. This is the only aspect of the Vadoma people that we hear from the lens of the Europeans. That these people, when you look at them foot, they only have 2 toes on each foot. They have a big toe, and they have what we call a little toe. And the 3 toes in the middle that we would suppose to normally have, they don't have it. So just think about it. These are people now with a very big toe and a very big end toe. So the Europeans use this to jeer and mock these people. And they call them the ostrich people because them feet look like the foot of a bird. So they leave us with that and we just carry on merrily. But I want I and I to dig a little deeper into trying to grasp who are these people. Who are the Bantuana people? Who are the people of Vadoma? And the most interesting thing that one can really begin to penetrate is that these Africans consider themselves to be ancestors of people who came from a different planet. That their ancestors were bird-like people who came from another planet, from another solar system. They are able to identify the solar system from which they come. They speak about things that the normal, ordinary Christian, Negro, African is unconscious of. And what the history of the Bantuana people does to I and I is to show that the concept of the beginning is conflicting in terms of how they try to give us in the book of the Genesis. Because the book of Genesis, from the Bible perspectives, try to show you that the original people on this planet came out of a garden and that those people were made by a God. The Bantuana people speak of different solar systems, different galaxies, and ultimately speak about man, African man, having his beginning outside of the solar system. Now they are not necessarily different from the Africans who are in the west of Africa, the people from Mali called the Dogons. The Dogons also speak of a Genesis coming from off the planet. So we have two set of African people whose Genesis is not connected to the Christian Bible. They are not a part of Adam, they are not a part of Eve, they are not a part of the 7-day creation as written in the book of Genesis. But they exist in reality. And the monuments and the great stone structures of Zimbabwe, these Africans claim that the knowledge came from these people who came from a different star system. I just want to open the item imagination, because our imagination has been captured wholly by the book of Genesis. And as much as our intellectuals speak about Africans being the first people, everybody seems to be bounded up into the book of Genesis for the genesis of the African people. I'm suggesting to the item that we begin to open our imaginations. But that is what has been captured, the imagination of the African. And it has been locked up in a book called the Book of Genesis. So the beginning of African people doesn't necessarily have to be vertical. We don't have to necessarily be terrestrial beings. And it even points to why the Europeans and these other nations are spending so much resources exploring what is called outer space. Exploring other systems is something that they have recognized. It is something that we seem to have forgotten. Metamorphosis.
Economic liberation is a duty I owe to posterity. Great Zimbabwe stands, ancient rock solid firm. Come now, Draco go down. Great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls. When they saw Zimbabwe walls, they said it was the foundation. They said it was the Syrian. They said it was the Chinese. When they saw Zimbabwe walls, they said it came from the Iberian. We know it is 100% African. Yaga yo, naga naga na Zimbabwe was great. Zimbabwe was great. Zimbabwe was great. Zimbabwe was. So who your Vasco de Gama be? So who Prince Henry the Navigator be? So who was yours? So Walter Raleigh. So who was Amerigo Vespucci? Some kind of Johnny come lately. Talking about them make some kind of discovery. Iman is the living anthropology. Iman is the living archaeology. Yaga yaga yo. Zimbabwe wall. Real Zimbabwe wall. Zimbabwe wall. Great Zimbabwe walls. Great Zimbabwe walls. Great Zimbabwe walls. When they built up the Aswan Dam, it was the Western archaeologists' plan to flood with historical Sudanese land. Afraid of the glory of the Nubian, afraid you will see your connection. Yaga yo, yaga yaga yo, to Zimbabwe. Great Zimbabwe walls. Great Zimbabwe walls. Great Zimbabwe walls. So who your Vasco de Gama be? So who Prince Henry your Navigator be? So who was your Sir Walter Raleigh? So who your Christopher Columbus? Iman is the living archaeology. Them talking about them make some kind of discovery. Iman is the living anthropology. Zimbabwe come now stand firm. Yeah. Zimbabwe walls. Great Zimbabwe walls. Great Zimbabwe walls. Great Zimbabwe walls. Corresponding mathematical elliptical constants in Egypt, Aksum, Zimbabwe and Mexico. Hey, African botanical strains of cotton and corn in America and you know, yeah. We can trace our steps through botany and etymology. You can't hide the truth forever from me. Can't hide the truth forever from me. Yeah, where me mess what is revealing is only right and true. We are standing on the soil that made you. Standing on the soil that made you. Standing on the soil that made you. Yeah, are you standing?
It is important for African people, for black people, to begin to expand their imagination beyond Egypt and Ethiopia. Because the Europeans are very glad that when we get ourselves locked into those countries, you know, and we are fighting as to, you know, who was who and where was who came first and who came after who. The continent is vast. We can drop North America into Africa. We can put Europe into Africa. We can put Australia into Africa. We can put Japan into Africa. We can drop all of these places in Africa and still have millions of square miles of area left. So it's a size that is boggling. And we have to begin to put that size into our brain. We have to be able to fit Africa into our brain, size-wise. Realize that this is a grand and great piece of real estate. And we cannot only view our lives as coming through Ethiopia and Egypt. Because you have to ask, where did the Ethiopians come from? Since we like to talk about come from and first this, where did the Ethiopians get their knowledge from? Where did the Egyptians get their knowledge of science and technology to build those pyramids? So if we push the envelope beyond where the Europe set it, and we still have to look in other places of the continent, and I'm recommending that we look into the southern sections of Africa, and look at Zimbabwe, and look at the Vadoma people, look at the Bantuana people, look at their history and their ancestry, and they all claim to be descendants of people who came from a different solar system. Divine beings. So, we have to free ourselves out of this one book. This one book that has been prescribed as the answer to all things, because we have been in that book for 2,000 years and our conditions are becoming worse. Psychologically worse, economically worse, socially and politically worse. So we have to draw the bricks and review and revisit and recognize that the history of African people cannot be locked up in Ethiopia and Egypt. And we have realized it cannot be locked up just on the planet Earth only. There are logical reasons and many reasons why the rest of the Europeans and the Japanese and these other people are expending so much research and resources trying to find these other solar systems. Because we them want to know where we come from, you know. It's the black people. But the black people have been disconnected from our true story. We have been told that we were created out of a garden. And that's where our beginning is. And that is the mythology. That is the beginning of the confusion. That is the limitation in our thinking. So in order to free ourselves, we must look into our own self. And Southern Africa, Western Africa, North and Central, just as crucial as Northeast and East Africa. So the Christian Bible doesn't go beyond Egypt. It doesn't go beyond Ethiopia. And so many of us mentally don't go beyond those borders themselves. But I said to the item, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Mali, we must look into these places if we really want to be free, if we really want to be liberated, if we really want to reconstruct black consciousness. We have to look beyond Ethiopia. We have to look beyond Egypt. We have to look into the wider continent. We have to look off the continent. We have to begin to look into the galaxies, into the solar systems, and realize that we had mastered the science of astronomy. And we still have the capacity to upgrade our own thinking by reflecting fearlessly on the great powers and constructions on the same earth itself. We must look into Zimbabwe. We must look into Mali. We must look into the metamorphosis.
This one is called Africa, Here I Come. Hardcore studio one style. Come in my crew. Everybody just a random pretend, but Mandela don't have it already. Hey man, a time for you get steady, cause everybody don't know Jaja already. Africa, boy, here I come, representing
more details now on the Bantuana people, whose ancestors, they say, came from the stars. That they were aquatic bird people who came from a smaller star solar system, which orbit around the central suns of Deneb, Sadir, Glina, Albira in Cygnus Alpha. Now, this is CYGNUS Alpha. And this is a northern constellation lying on the plane of the Milky Way. And you have to understand now that how is it that these Africans get knowledge about the Milky Way? That Cygnus contains one of the brightest stars in the night sky, and one of the corners of the summer triangle. You see, many of these systems were discovered just recently by the Europeans, because they had a thing called Kepler, a Kepler mission that observed one patch of the sky for a very, very long time. And they began to realize that there are galaxies and structures in the universe that the people of Bantuana had great knowledge of. So these types of information is not just revealed to I and I. We have to actually go and search for it. So we have African people who were quite aware of the Milky Way, quite aware of the Southern Cross and the Northern Cross, quite aware of the constellations that centuries later the astronomer called Ptolemy, he discovered these things. So the point I'm trying to make is that we must not limit our knowledge to what the Europeans just put up in front of us. And we can't limit ourselves to what the Bible speaks about. Because I and I have been into the earth millions and thousands of years before the first Jew or the first Israeli or the first Hebrew, any of these type of beings walk on the planet. So the Bantuana people of Zimbabwe, they don't claim to be coming from any biblical conception. They claim that their ancestors were aquatic bird people who came from a smaller star solar system which orbits around some other suns out there. Now these things are just being discovered by the Europeans. They're just now getting a clear view of the extent of the cosmos by sending out satellites and have them locked in space that they can take pictures of areas. Well, I want to tell you something now. Most recently, they have found some footprints in South Africa. These footprints are footprints of giants. Yeah, giants. And they date these footprints to be up to 2 million years old. Now this totally goes against what is called normal education. Because the education system tells you generally that our life really has its genesis in the Bible story. And here we're having stories that have been existing long before the Bible was put together. So if we begin to be courageous and begin to think for ourselves, come out of the box, which is the Bible, and begin to think freely. So these footprints that have been found right now in southern Africa, they claim is 200 million years old. It's an old African footprint. And it's a footprint of a giant. Now I want to speak later on about giants in the earth, because the same Christian Bible speaks about a time when there were giants on the earth. Genesis 6 begins to speak about giants. And so part of the questioning and the reasoning into this metamorphosis is to what race did those giants belong? And who were those giants? And how is it we don't get any documentation about the nature of these giants? So much of the knowledge is locked away in African continent. And I will use as much energy as I can to unlock these mysteries and free up our story, that we can be who we really are. If we don't understand where we are coming from, how can we have any say into where we are going? And we are coming from a space and a time long, long before the first European came out of a cave. Metamorphosis.
Emmanuel, him a go chance them to work. When them take it from Africa, we yard. Never have no criminal record. I know them take it go abroad. Starting point, Marcus give you a profit first, man. Then they put. If you have a clean record, passport, a visa, you can't pass them port. Pass them port. So we don't come here for no visa and no passport. We don't come here for no visa and no passport. The whole of we come down here for the same boat. The whole of we come down here for the same boat. We don't come here for no visa and no passport. We don't come here for no visa and no passport. All Google of you run like you see a boat. The whole of we come down here for the same boat. The police and soldier, all the commissioner, the nurse and doctor, the judge and lawyer, also the governor general and prime minister. The whole of we come down here for the same boat. Rise up, oh we mighty ways. Rise and take a stand again. My people still cutting sugar cane. Babylon, them and use them brain. No change on our feet, but we are not free. Living in this outdoor captivity. My people still living in poverty. Fear of safety, can't be free. We don't come here for no visa and no passport. We don't come here for no visa and no passport. Ebola we come down here for the same boat. Ebola we come down here for the same boat. We don't come here for no visa and no passport. We don't come here for no visa and no passport. But like a Safa,
So before we were brought into this enslavement, we now have the evidence of giant footprints, 200 million years old, found in South Africa. Now it's amazing, absolutely amazing, that this footprint, the geologists have been marveling at this giant footprint found in granite. It's about 4 feet long. And so these European professors and archaeologists, they have estimated that it is between 200 million and 3 billion years old. Now, that is very baffling to many black people now, because we talk about millions and billions. It's like our brain shut down. Our imaginations struggle to go beyond the biblical concept of time. But the Europeans are very aware of millions and billions of years of Earth history. It's just I and I locked out. And it's about time we enter into that space and realize that a million years Africans have been here. For over a million years we have been walking on this planet as giants. And perhaps it is because of the giant nature of the Africans why some of those stone structures could have been built. There's enough things we have to unlearn before we can begin to learn what we need to know. Metamorphosis is here. It's a part of the process. If you believe in things that you don't understand, then you shall surely suffer. Yes, if you believe in things that you don't understand, you will suffer. And the African black people, we have been suffering. We have been suffering for so long that sometimes we don't even sure why we're suffering. We think that we have been cursed. But it's because of our beliefs and believing into things that we have no knowledge of. So we don't understand what we believe, so we are confused and it's pure troubles. One of the things I want to look at into this section that we call deconstructing mythologies and allegories is the fact that most of our literature, any documentation of who we are as a people, when it comes to distant time and history, even when you are well grounded in the history of Africa, there is a blockage caused by an earlier form of education. Now, before we become schooled in academics, that type of education, we are drilled into an education that is driven by religion. And this religious education has a forever impact on the lives of black people. Because developmental psychologists will tell you that the first 3 years of the child's life are all encompassing and basically sets the foundation for whatever else the child may want to learn. The first 36 months are the most vital months of any child, particularly for the African black child, who already is born with the potential to be ahead of all other children. But there's a process that hits us between age 1 and 3. By the time we get to the age 3, we are totally overwhelmed with biblical history. That is drilled into I and I from the time we come out of our mother's womb and we can begin to hear outside properly. And so we are given a history of the world at up to age 3. And that remains permanent. That even when we go on to school now and begin to learn this other history, world history and African history, those things just become the upstairs because the basement has been set and the foundation has been set in biblical history. So the biblical history literally overpowers everything else we learn. And this is where the confusion reigns. That we have some of our greatest intellects and cultural and academics who still get stuck in the biblical history. And the book of Genesis is a book that has trapped the brains and the minds of the African people globally. This particular book. The other book that holds the brain is the book of Revelations. So we get caught up in a book that tells us about a beginning, and we get caught up in a book that tells us about the end. And in between that, we are slaves forever, it appears. And we are in total conflict with ourselves, where our identity historically now has been confused. So when the African history tells us about giants in the earth, we have to find reference for that now in the Bible. But guess what? There is a reference in the Bible that speaks about giants in the earth. It's in the book of Genesis. So the biblical scholar now must turn to Genesis chapter 6, verse 4, in the King James Version. And it says, and I quote, "There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown." So I'll say it again. Genesis 6, verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days. Now, which days are these? And who are these giants? And that they were also the sons of God. Who are the sons of God? We have to spend time a little bit knowing, okay? See, if we're so convinced that the Bible is a book of truth and is a word of God, then it's a word of God telling us that there were giants in the earth. And all of these things happening now before the biblical flood of Noah. So African people now, we have to be able to find African history before the flood of Noah. Before this mythical wipeout, where was Africa? Where were the Asian people? Where were the people of North America? Where were the people of China before the flood of Noah? And this is where the door open now. Because you realize now, say, we have to find ourselves. So if we can go to places like South Africa to find where we are. We have to go to West Africa to find where we are. We have to go to Asia to find out where people are. And who are these giants? Who are the sons of God? They sound like different races of people. Sound like the giants were a certain race. What was the nature of the giants? What was their race? What about the sons of God? Were they a race that involved females? I have to ask these questions because I and I have been difficulty just simply accepting now that we all were wiped away and restarted from a boat. What did Africa look like before the floods of Noah? What was Zimbabwe looking like before the floods of Noah? And did the giants in the earth live in Africa? And were African giants by nature? And where did these giants come from? So the pastor not going to talk about these things. The preacher man will not speak about these things because he himself don't even to know. But I and I must insist that we find answers to these questions. Because the anthropologists and the geologists, these are the people who are finding evidence of giants in the earth, of people who have ancestry that is beyond the earth, of Africans who are connected to Sirius star system, Africans who know about Mars, Africans who know about the various constellations. This is long before the first European was even cloned. This is long before Adam was even made. And so the Adam and Eve story now becomes problematic because we can begin to read now into two creations. We can read into the creation where the Almighty spoke and said, "Let us make man, males and females, and sent out man to multiply and replenish the earth." Could these have been the giants of the earth? These were the creation that occurred in the 7-day conception of creation. That in the 6th day of creation, the 6th period, when the giants were made and sent out to multiply and replenish the earth. And on the 7th day of that creation, the Creator rested. So the creation was in place with giants walking the earth. And for some unusual reason now, we are introduced to a second creation. One that will involve a being made out of dirt. And a companion being made out of a rib. So we must ask the question, what really is this rib? What is this rib of man? Because as African people, the same book tells us that I and I was made from the 6th day through the power of the word. Word, sound, power, vibrations. But we are confused now with a second creation that speaks about a male called Adam and a rib creation called Eve. And we are most told to be contented to accept that all African people came from this concept. But remember, there are giants in the land. And these giants have been here long before Adam and Eve. These giants have archaeological findings. And we must not be afraid to think and think clearly. So we have to examine the sons of God. We have to examine who were the daughters of men. Who were these men? Who were these men? Obviously, these men are different from the word sound that created man. So it's a book of confusion. And so the race of black people remain confused. And we can't find where we come from. So it's very difficult to define where we're going and explain our state of confusion in the present. We're confused in gender, we're confused in race, we're confused in identity. We are confused people. But if we spend a little bit of time to think it through, to exercise that power that is in our head, to open up that meditative eye, that pineal eye. One of the world's greatest secrets is the power of the pineal eye. And the pineal eye is dominant in African people. The pineal eye is recessive in European people. We must awaken the eye that is within. Bob said? Who hear what Bob said a while ago? I wonder if Cassidy can rewind a little piece. You can rewind a piece, Cass? This is the man who them want to turn into a national hero, you know. Bob said, in Bex, him so Bex. Yeah, listen to this. There's enough things we have to deal with now, you know. There's a lot of things, whole heap of things. And knowledge is the key. That's what I got on my gift. But it's the key to open what? And what does that key fit into? What do you fit the knowledge key into? And what do you open? Because certainly we don't have it together yet. And we're beginning to open that book That book that they give us as a book of life, which has been maintaining death amongst us. The Egyptians had a book of life, and the Europeans call it the book of the dead. And they've given us a book of death and tell us that it's a book of life. Everything in that book is all about death. The book that they call the Bible. It's pure death and war and bad-mindedness and grief. Yeah, whole heap of grief and war and destruction and battle and man have take a man, woman and all sort of ism and schism. And that is supposed to be the book of life. So what does it say about the quality that we are living today? We're not living in the quality of life most ourselves as black people, you know. And then everybody can quote the Bible. Everybody run to the Bible as a book of reference. Everybody run to Psalms. Everybody chant Psalms. Okay, everybody have an enemy. Everybody have fight war. And it's always amongst our own selves. We never really get focused and see who is the real enemy. Who give us these contraptions and this bag of confusion. Who has captured our imagination and stifled our thinking power. A time for everything. And was begin to read. And not only read and recite, but read and comprehend. And begin to think. There is no box, you know. The only box we have to think is inside the Bible. Because that Bible coming like a coffin. Lock you up. Tell us about a beginning and I was dread an end. So it's a very carefully orchestrated text. And until we can find our way through it, then we're locked into it for our life. So, two of the books of that King James structure have controlled the lives of black people. The book that tells us about a beginning, and the book by that insane John called the Revelations. Have everybody gripped in fear. I was behaving like a crab in the barrel, trying to get into that kingdom of heaven that has a limited amount of spaces. And with all the billions of people who have passed through the earth already, can you imagine only 144,000 can get in? It's done full up already. So the crab in the barrel behavior is persistent amongst the black people. The Chinaman has no interest in getting into heaven. Neither does the Indian. They have interest in controlling the resources of the earth. They have interest in maintaining their family structures. They have interest in developing wealth. And what you call being able to pass on the wealth to the other generations. We are the black people, we are the only people who are caught up in trying to leave the earth and go into this heaven. And we have to go there with nothing and go there poor. While the wealth remains on the earth to be shared by the other races and their generation. It's a backwards teaching. They teach us to hate money. Yet it is a lack of money that is the root of all evil. It cannot be the love. And look at the root of all evil. Evil has been in the earth long before money was invented. Yet money becomes the root of all evil. It's false teaching. The root of all evil is a lack of resources. When you lack resources, you end up borrowing, you end up begging, you end up stealing, you end up violating other people's personal space and property. So we have to get this serious awakening. Awake up ourselves out of this book, out of the slumber that this book has put us into. We have to find African history before the floods of Noah. What was African people doing before the so-called flood? What was the Chinaman doing? Because when the flood of Noah is recorded, the Chinaman doesn't come out in the boat. He's nowhere in Noah's Ark. Neither is the Indian. So what happened to them? Oh, they must reappear. We have to look through the lines and look into our own black consciousness and realize that we are people with a cosmic center. Of a center of cosmic consciousness. We're going beyond spirituality. And we must move from spirituality into our cosmic consciousness. And in that consciousness we lose all fear and realize our oneness with the cosmos. And then we begin to recognize other distant solar systems. other constellations fearlessly. Yeah, it's just what it's all about, thinking fearlessly without the fear of losing what they call the soul. Because the soul of the African is skin. That is our soul. Our feeling organ. Our greatest organ of sensation is our soul. So we feel things with the soul. We don't feel nothing with our heart. We don't feel nothing with our heart, We feel with our soul. We feel with our skin. The heart will beat. But the feeling is not in your chest. The feeling is all over you. The feeling is in your skin. That is the site of our soul. So when you bleach out your soul, I say no more. Metamorphosis.
Ladies, something is on for you on a Tuesday night.
Music.
No more loneliness. Now you have Prestige, your ultimate companion. Experience his musical charm with charismatic passion. So innovative and more interactive.
From 9 to 12 midnight.
On Styles FM. Music with Prestige. Don't miss it.
For the best quality in sound reinforcement and backlining, native audio. We have professional engineers with over 20 years of experience. So call us and we'll take care of your parties, wedding receptions, barbecues, conferences, and small stage shows. Crystal clear sound, native audio. Our prices are the best. Call us at 871-5212. That's 871-5212. Native audio. We make your events audible.
John No Star. Stefan, what do you mean? Everybody talk about this Come On Me Yard song with CG. And what the fans they really think about that song?
CG, that's a friend there, I try to call the phone and I want answer. But the access never have nothing done the camera munch fan. See the right on my phone I want charge. Later still.
Now play CG Direct Sunday night. I lie. Yes, I got cuss.
Oh my God, this CG song, Come On Me Yard, it is unbelievable. This is what I play every day because I cannot get my girlfriend to stop Come On Me Yard.
Yo, brother CG, you see that Stop Come On Me Yard song there? It bad, yo.
Forget about that. Listen to one, yeah. People, check out the brand new CG, Come On Me Yard. Now available on iTunes and all leading digital stores. For bookings, contact 876-844-6531 or rudelikedat@gmail.com. Calm is the key.
Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Boundbrook Crescent, Port Antonio. For a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast to order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge. Beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the Metamorphosis with Dr. Iman Blak, live on Styles FM, Mondays, 9 p.m. to midnight.
Big enough, Bombrook, big enough, Bombrook, Hilltop, big up. I just got a text. This is from a consistent and persistent listener, virgin called D. And he really asking, well, first of all, himself, the Bible say that self-praise is no recommendation. No, I always hear that as a youth, I never really find it in the Bible, but I will accept it. The Bible says self-praise is no recommendation. So I must say, why can't a man recommend himself first? Yeah, why a man can't recommend himself first? Why is it you have to wait for somebody to recommend you? I will ask myself that question, why I can't pat myself on my own back? Why I have to wait for a man to pat my back? Is it that I lack the confidence? Or the feeling that you're going to be arrogant? We have to find a balance. You have to find a balance and know how to reward yourself. Because them say, when you're employed, and you get your salary, the first thing you must take out of the money that you pay yourself, that is what You must pay yourself first. So I don't know if I get into the answer D, but I hear it from a long time too. So you must blow your own trumpet. You know, you must make somebody else blow it. But I don't sure if I must wait for somebody else, because what happens if others decide not to? Then it means I can't get no self-esteem raising. My self-esteem can't raise. I can't raise my own self-esteem. I know about that. Anybody else want to come in can call at 453-1444. Yeah, them say self-recommendation is not considered to be a good thing. I challenge that. Same way D. Metamorphosis.
It's a long way, long road. I wanted to know.
I want to hear Dale. Dale has given me a link on the text. I'm just saying the reasoning resonating like the sun and the moon. All right. Peace, my sister.
Don't you know? Say Babylon a kill out the prophet. The Babylon a kill out the prophet. Say heroes no live too long. Say great man no live too long. Babylon a kill out the prophet. Babylon a kill out the prophet. Say great man no live too long. Say great man no live too long. Say just through them know say we are judge a messenger. The Babylon no want say I and I prosper. We spreading the works.
Il Ivar in Canada. We see a message. They are listening and the man say, well, yeah, I say that the program is informative and they are all our mates. Yes, I give thanks.
Road is a dangerous road. No one man can carry such a heavy load. It's a long way. It's a long road. John Lennon died and Kennedy tried. A lot of them died along the wayside. It's a long way. Ooh, long road. Peter Tosh tried, Bob Marley died. A lot of them died along the wayside. It's a long way. Ooh, long road. I wanted to know. I wanted to know. Don't you know? Don't you know? Living down here, I can't feel no gravity. Poor people living in poverty. Feel it the most, yeah. The majority. Come on, face reality. Cause we got a long way. See where lash, what happened to the cash? Tita don't say nobody don't know. It's a long way. It's a long road. So what about the half that never been told? Been hearing about that since I was 5 years old. It's a long way. Long road. Marcus died, Martin Luther King tried. A lot of them died along the wayside. It's a long way.
Yeah, it's a tall journey. Many of our heroes and heroines have come and gone, and we look like we're in the same spot. So something have to move. Something else that is in our part that we're not moving. Why so many greats have come and gone, and we look as if we're still going back ways. Something we're holding on to that we have to let go totally. We have to release ourselves from certain ideas and ideologies fearlessly. Because obviously the race is going backwards. And everybody is moving ahead of us. And we're showing more signs of confusion. Apples becoming oranges and equal turning minus and all sort of confusion in our identity. Racially we are confused. The Europeans have insisted that we are no longer Africans now. We must all call ourselves humans. I and I is no human. I and I is the original man. Long before the human was constructed. Long before we had anything called mankind. I is man. And man is a term that implies females and males. We never know about no woman, you know. We know about females. And check out it. The female concept manifests itself not just amongst man, but amongst the animals and amongst the plants. But what is this woman that the same book of Genesis introduces us to? A woman that was made out of a rib. We don't embrace that, you know. And in the conscious female must know herself. Is she a woman? Or is she a female? And is she a member of the race of man? So we want our black woman then know to wake up, and get out of these woman vibrations and see themselves as females who must complement the male. The woman is a whole different creation process. It's a whole different construction, literally a clone that has constructed to serve the white man. Is his woman. And I who come from the race of man have had our females. And our females have always been divine and divinities and worshipped. The white man never worshipped his woman yet. He always beat her over head. Just look at the Flintstone cartoons. And you see where the white man is coming from. You see his culture. Look at the Adams family. Adam, that same character that the Bible says, the first male. Look at Adam's family. Look at the strange people within the family of Adam. So we need to make that distinction between man and human. African people belong to the race of man. This human being thing or something is a product of the evolution of the ape. It's where the animals will be mixed up with man. And from that will come an ape man. A primate. An offshoot of the orangutan. And I don't have that Genesis. And I have no animal history. And I have no animal blood. Females and males, black African people, are divinities. We are the sons of God. We are the giants that were walking through the earth. But you see what happened over the millions of years? How we have been reduced. How we get shrink. Not only we get shrink in our size, we get shrink in our intelligence. But within that shrinking, we still have the powers to regenerate because we still maintain that we have a pineal eye. And it is that eye that we must open to recall and remember and reconstruct all the powers that we have within. So we're going to move on into the section that deals with Afrocentric views of the world today.
What's going on? What's going on?
What's going on? This is a section that we call Afrocentric views on news. And we know that the word news is a combination of the letters N-E-W-S. N represents the north, and the E is the east, and the W is the west, and the S is the south. So information coming in from those four sections of the earth, we call it news. But what is critical about news now, it's perspectives and interpretations. And I have been dependent for years on the interpretation of news and information from the Western press. Now, on the plantation societies that we all emerge from in this Western world, certain institutions were established to maintain control, that the dominant class would always remain dominant. We know about the state, which is the political machinery that maintains control from the level of administration. Then there's a church, which maintains control from the level of religion and spirit. So you always hear about church and state. There's also the military, which is the arm of the state that is there to maintain control physically through the use of violence to maintain that level of control on the plantation. In a place like Jamaica, our military is controlled by the Queen and the Governor General. And the level below them now is the police. So these are the arms of the state. But there's another arm that we tend to overlook, but is most dominant and most predominant in the lives of black people. This is this institution called the media. In Jamaica, the media was established in the same year of the emancipation to show you the link between control and so-called freedom. So we have a major newspaper in Jamaica that was opened in 1834. So the media is an important institution to control the thinking and the feelings of the population. So in today's world now, the Western media is dominant. And the Western media now actually shapes your thinking. It tells you what is important today and what's not important tomorrow. Whatever become headlines is what everybody jump on. And then tomorrow the media switch the headline, everybody switch with that too. So we're not able to think on our own. They have a thing called breaking news. And by the time you hear the news and it done break, by the time the wave break, the next one breaking. So the constant breaking of news that you can't even digest the first wave. Well, in today's world now, the media, which is controlled primarily by the West, North America in particular, they have these special stations that carry European, American, white propaganda. And at the present time, the media have us all focused on the United States. And it has become almost like a daily dose of Trump. Every move Trump makes becomes headlines. Every move Trump doesn't make becomes headlines. So Trump has created a whole heap of disturbance in the world scene since last year, November, and before. Trump is present now on his first international tour. And the first place he has gone to is Saudi Arabia. And again, I remind the black people that Saudi Arabia is not a friend of black people. Saudi Arabia is the first invaders of Africa, the first to enslave Africa, the first to set up a major slave trade, bringing with them their religion of Islam. Well, Trump has now brokered a deal to sell these people over $1 billion in arms. These are machinery for war. So selling ammunition and weapons of destruction is the way America sees itself as being able to make money. And at the same time now, Trump has declared that Iran is the enemy. So I'm setting the stage again for some sort of great conflict in that region. He's now in Israel, trying to forge some type of diplomatic relations between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Israelis now are a set of people with nuclear weapons. And the American press is all in favor of Israel and their nuclear weapons. The American press is against Iran having weapons. The American press is against North Korea having weapons. So it's a white man domination. This is not about supremacy. This is about domination. In the United States, sometime last week, there was a terrorist activity right in the heart of America, right on 42nd Street. But the media is so influential that the media quickly cover it up and call it drunk driving. This is where a man jump in a car and drive down 42nd Street and kill off people and mow down people, damaging a whole heap of people. If this event occurred anywhere in Europe, the first thing you would hear is that it was a terrorist attack. And the second question would be posed is, what is the religion of the driver? No such thing applied to the American scenario, because the media is trying to make sure that the American people don't panic. If this happened in London, it would have been a terrorist attack. If it happened in France, it happened in Germany, in Switzerland, any European country, this action would be deemed a terrorist activity. But the media, which is controlling the meditation of the people, instantly tells you that the driver was drunk. They don't tell you what religion them come from. And it's not a terrorist act. And so people can go along as usual. This is the power and influence of the media. It means that I and I must begin to think for ourselves. Think it out carefully. Because one man is drunk and the next man is a terrorist. And terrorism has been spreading through America. But the Americans are unwilling to identify it as terrorism. Because the Ku Klux Klan has risen again. And there's no more organized terrorist group in the world than the Ku Klux Klan. There's a Texas lawmaker, a black man, who has decided to proceed in his efforts to get Trump impeached. And he has been threatened with lynching. Now, as far as I know, and as far as anybody knows, I don't know of any white man who has ever been lynched. I know of no white man who has ever been lynched. But lynching looks like a practice of white people against black people. And lynching has begun again in America. Like a picnic, it's like sport. So I must realize now, we can't leave our vengeance to the God of the Bible, you know. Because the God of the Bible have no interest in black people. It is very obvious. We have to begin to seek out our own vengeance. This thing called justice doesn't apply to black people in America. Because the first thing of all, you have to be white in America to achieve justice. So it's a waking up call. And this time of Trump era is a time of American decline. It's a time that black people must use to resurrect ourselves, to rise up as a collective and realize that there's nothing in the sky that can save us. And there's nothing under the earth to be afraid of. What we need to do is become collective and to be clear our thinking process and realize that I and I is man. And we must begin to defend ourselves as a family. Females and males. We have to come together, break down that gender divide, run away that superiority concept of feminism. Stop battling over who own the children and begin to become more responsible for whatever we create. It's not about ownership, it's about responsibility. And the world goes on, and we must get better. A few weeks ago, we were preoccupied with Syria. But there's a country that is undergoing even greater turmoil than Syria. It's a place called Yemen, where the Americans and the Russians are engaged in a struggle for an area that is strategically important for the flow of oil. And what's going on in Yemen is a total atrocity. But the media doesn't focus on Yemen. So the people are dying from cholera. The people are dying, the children are dying more there than in Syria. But the media doesn't choose to make Yemen an important point. We have to realize how the media work. We begin to create our own media. We need our own black propaganda machinery that can keep us informed as what is going on in Nigeria, what's going on in Ghana, what's going on the mother continent. Keep us aware that technology is rising in Ghana, where the Ghanaians now are developing radio telescopes that they're looking into aspects of the universe that the European could never look at, and not aware of these things in the skies around us. So media is a vital instrument, and African people, black people, must begin to put them resources together that we can have our own media that speaks of our own interests, that helps I and I in our own liberation, because knowledge is key. It's whose knowledge you're going to use, whose information we're going to use.
Some people fed them, I know it. Long the must talking about them fed them. I feel it, cause all them people talking about this. Don't wanna see no war, don't wanna see no fighting, cause them don't wanna see no war, don't wanna see no fighting. So them but I would gonna pie, no, but I would gonna buy. All the ragamuffin who they living in crime. Nobody kill the brother for no nickel nor dime. All the ragamuffin who they living in crime. Nobody kill the brother for no nickel nor dime. Stop fighting and make we all start uniting. Lord have mercy, stop fighting and make we all start uniting. Bumble the bang, unite. No bother with no fuss, no fight, unite. No matter if you're black, no white, unite. You know that the time is right, unite. No bother with no fuss, no fight, unite. 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 You know that the time is right, unite. 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 Sell him for rice and peas. They didn't know there would be days like these. Now the human race in such a squeeze. Yeah. They never love, woman. Them never love.
Yeah, I'll tell you something now. Talk a little bit about Marcus Garvey, because I'm total distress at what the University of the West Indies has presented as a bust or an image of Marcus Garvey. They unveiled an image of Marcus Garvey at the Faculty of Humanities last week. And I would like people who have access to the social network and media to try to get online and to see what this bust looks like. Nobody who sees that bust could ever imagine that could have been coming out of the imagination of an artist to represent Marcus Garvey. It have nothing to do with Garvey. The image looks like a broken house slave. It looks like an unwell Marcus Garvey. And it's a disgrace. It's an atrocity for the University of the West Indies to unveil that, to have people thinking that that is a symbol of Marcus Garvey. Because that's not the Garvey that's supposed to represent black liberation. That image of Garvey is a weakling, almost a straight-nosed Garvey, high cheekbones Garvey. That have nothing to do with the blackness. But I'm not surprised, because the University of the West Indies is a symbol of the Queen. It is the Queen's University. One of the major institutions that help to hold down the plantation. So besides the state and the church and the military and the media, there's an education system. And the highest one in Jamaica's plantation is the UWI, located on the Mona Plantation. And the UWI, as far as I'm concerned, as much as Iman went there and got certification from the UWI, I'm glad I went to other universities before. But I'm not a UE person. I'm not a UE person. Because the concept of a UE person is not somebody who defends the concept of black people and into activism. University don't produce agents of change. University produce people who help to maintain the status quo. University had a cultural studies section in which Rastafari was the dominant theme. Then beat it down into the ground and elevate dancehall. So dancehall now becomes the flagship of culture at the University of the West Indies. Still no room for Garvey, no room for Rastafari thinking. And it brings me to the main issue that I want to speak about now. For years, people have been talking about we must have Garvey in the schools. We must teach Marcus Garvey. But if the highest level of university have no interest in promoting Garvey's teachings, it will not happen in the primary school. And the critical institution in which Garvey should be overly taught is in the teachers' colleges. So when you have teachers coming out condemning Marcus Garvey and cussing Garvey, telling how Garvey black and him ugly and him thief, the teachers' colleges, what do you think the students are going to pick up? It's a total disgrace. And if you penetrate Garvey deeper, you realize that the same society that is symbolized by the university is them run Garvey out of the country. Because Garvey was too black. Not only in his pigmentation, he was black in his philosophy and he's black in his meditation. And I show you a simple reason as to why Garvey will never be taught in Jamaica to the extent that it should. It is Garvey's philosophy that states in its most obvious way that the first principle to black unity is accepting the concept of race first. But it's a race first as an ideology. It's in deep conflict with people who constructed Jamaica's motto. Because Jamaica's motto is in a total conflict with Garvey. Jamaica's motto tells you out of many one people. That is conflicting. That motto simply protects the minor racial groups in Jamaica. The Chinese, the Indians, the Syrians, and the Caucasians. They are protected by that motto that tells them that out of many are these one people. The many people in Jamaica are the Africans. The many people in Jamaica are the 95% black people of African descent. Garvey speaks to the 95%. The motto doesn't. And so as long as we hold on to this motto, there is no space for Garveyism. It's pure lip service. Race first. That's what the Chinaman preach. Chinaman moves on. That's what the Jews of Israel move on. That's what the Caucasians move on. That's what the Indians move on. But when it comes to black people now, we mustn't say race first, because then we become racist. That is propaganda, white propaganda by the media. We must become racial, because racial identity now is the first step towards your self-definition. We have to define ourselves, and the first level of definition is racial consciousness. So Jamaica is a country of majority black people who are in denial of their blackness, where mothers don't want their daughters to have black men as their spouse because they want children who are brown. It's a sick society. I have to say it. Sickness in the society right here because of the conflict in ideological thinking. So Garvey is an international hero, and he's almost like a demon in Jamaica. He's vilified in Jamaica. Look at the image that they put up in the university. Nobody around the world who see that would ever think it's Garvey. Nobody. Yet the artist, because his father was a great artist, we think that the son will also be great. I want you to look on this image, Look on this image. And I'm following a recommendation on this Facebook that we should we should launch a petition to remove Garvey's image. That thing that they put up at UA. We need a petition to remove it. In the same way they remove something when they make a Bob Marley one time. We want to remove this Garvey thing. This is not Marcus Garvey. 10 years from now, when our children look at that, they will never know who Garvey was. So the country will never come to its fullness. I will never appreciate the blackness of Jamaica because those who are in the racial minority groups are fearful. Just like the people in Southern Africa who was afraid of one man, one vote because the black people were in the majority. They are protecting their own interests. The Syrians, the Indians, the white people, the Chinese, they're all hiding behind out of many one. And now we find that it's the many black people who are unemployed. The many black people are cleaning the streets. It's out of the many black people who find unemployment. And those other small groups are enjoying the prosperity of Jamaica. So it's a waking up, It's an awakening that is necessary. And so I and I can wake up ourselves. We're suffering from the Negro Christian mentality, where the Negro Christian doesn't want to see race. Negro Christian said race is not important. Everything is colorblind. And when the Negro Christian goes into North America, the first thing he realizes is he's black. And everything run along the lines of race. Make you wake up to racial consciousness. It doesn't make you a racist, but it makes you conscious of your race. Make you conscious of your African queen. Make you conscious of yourself as a black man, black woman. Make you appreciate love, your story. And make you put a fire on his story. Metamorphosis.
Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Barbara Crescent, Port Antonio, for a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge, beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the Metamorphosis with Dr. Iman Blak, live on Styles FM, Mondays 9 p.m. to midnight. Call Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House at 715-1644.
Oh yeah, take this love and receive. You are all I need. I got no trick up my sleeve. Oh yeah, yeah, take this love and receive. You are all I need. I got no trick up my sleeve. Oh yeah, yes, thoughts of you up in my head, and every second I feel it spreads, coursing through my vein. Well, can't wait to get home to look up in your face, 'cause girl, you feel my vibes. I'm so glad you're with the I. Well, we laugh, we cry, sometimes we fuss, but that happened to all of us. I'm so glad you're mine. Well, take this love and receive. You are all I need. I got no trick up my sleeve. Oh yeah, yes. Take this love and receive. You are all I need. I got no trick up my sleeve. Oh yeah, yeah. Don't be crazy, them woman can not face me. Can't rock me world, plus them can't bring my baby. You alone, up in my home, for I. Say girl, you put a spell on me. Love a blossom and a spell on me. You put that smell on me. Now there's no turning back. Hey, many a times when you be rolling down the street, man, them smell your cologne and know them feel the heat. Infatuation, what them feel is not real. I rasta one alone about the seal. Take this love and receive. You are all I need. I got no trick up my sleeve. Oh yeah, yes. Take this love and receive. You are all I need. I got no trick up my sleeve. Oh yeah, yes.
lasting. Watch out now, when me and my baby be passing. All night flashing in a jacuzzi basking. We'll leave a prayer and fasting. Been a long road, took a long time to be here, but I'm here and it's fair, plus it's crystal clear. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. Just to comfort and keep you warm.
Rolino, what's Pele now? What a beautiful goal from Pele. El Rey. The way that Maradona has been able to do. And he's hurting England again here. This is a brilliant run. It's one of the World Cup's great goals. Set.
They get away first time. Tyson Gay right alongside Usain Bolt, but here he goes, streaking away already. It's Bolt all the way. He's looking round at Gay. Watch the clock. It's goal for Bolt. And again.
Metamorphosis into the world of sports. And you know that the world now has a new champion in the female dimension coming out of Jamaica. This is Elaine Thompson. She is now the new name on the block. And as the Usain, Dr. Bolt prepares to go into his retirement from the Olympics, we have replacements in it's like a factory. And as one leaves, the next one comes. And so it is in our sprint factory in Jamaica. We have a tremendous history of athletics and great performances at the Olympics from 1948 to the present. Infrastructure in terms of competitions moved from the primary school straight to the high school, into the Carifta, into the Olympics. Very structured, top of the line coaches, great enthusiasm. So our athletics is here to stay. So even if they want to wipe off the records, we shall always be winners. We see where even Johan Blake is making a recovery to make himself put himself back on the world track. So athletics in Jamaica is part of the factory. It's unfortunate that we're not developing the industry of sports that would transform the economy overall. And that some of this cannot reach over into the world of football. Because the football is really what I really want to speak about in this moment. When you look around the world, most of the international club leagues are coming to a close. English Premier League has a champion in Chelsea. The Spanish has a champion in Madrid. The French have a champion. The Germans have a repeat champion. And at the Jamaica level now, we are at the stage where we are about to reach our national champions. We have one team in the wing waiting, which is Arnett Gardens. And Arnett Gardens is awaiting the winner of the return leg between the UWI and the Portmore team. Now, what I want to speak to now is the football in the island, how this Premier League is structured. Because we would like to actually have a league that is more representational of the nation than of just a few parishes. We have an entire confederation, Eastern Confederation, where Iman presently is located in this parish of Portland. And apparently this is the most difficult confederation to get a team into the Premier League. We're talking about the region from St. Thomas to Portland to St. Mary to St. Anne's. Historically, this region has been weak. And it is the politics of the football in the Confederation that keeps the area weak. The infrastructure in terms of venues is absurd. And I must speak particularly about Portland now. Because when I came to Portland 2-3 decades ago, Portland had the greatest football field in the whole country. Yeah, better than the National Stadium. Portland had a field called Carter Park. Carter Park was a car pit. It was well groomed. There was a bird, named Bertie. Bertie used to drive him lawnmower. And the park was cut. It was crisp. I tell you, it was the best football field in the entire island. The only other field that would give Carter Park competition was down in Westmoreland. Them ends there. Where the backside man, them used to have a field. Some part of the island there. I can't remember it because it never really stand out. Carter Park today, people of the world who are listening, has moved from the best field in Jamaica to a cow pasture. And it has impacted the town negatively. It has led to a total drain of the football talent out of Port Antonio. That now the clubs that are dominant are from the edges of the parish, meaning Montreal in the east and Buff Bay in the west. Port Antonio has become a dead town for football. And where there's no sports, where the people do not celebrate their play, they're going to be very despondent and enough idleness will develop. One of the major institutions that will help to maintain Carter Park in its greatness was Titchfield High School. And Titchfield High School now is being run by a boy principal who has no concept of sports, of hard sports. We're not talking about chess and schools challenge. We're talking about hard sports like football, athletics and cricket. Those sports have died at Titchfield School, and the town has been dying along with the school. So the leadership is what is critical in this region, and the region is now lacking leadership. Sickening. Because it is the leadership that helps to shape the community. And the community right now has no leadership because Titchfield has no leader. And it is Titchfield School that will generate the players that will feed the clubs of Portland. That has come to a total end. So there are no more teams in Port Antonio that can challenge anywhere in the region. So St. Thomas has been on the upswing. St. Thomas once had a most powerful club called Portmorant United. Portland enjoyed the success of St. George's, Buff Bay, when they were making their run. St. Mary once had a team called Star Cosmos. And St. Anne's once had Black Stars and Brazil. All these clubs have gone into closure. And so the football in the Northeast is almost at a complete standstill. So how do you resurrect this region? Well, part of Portland's resurrection will come when Carter Park is resurrected. When you have a centerpiece for entertainment and sports, it adds to the tourist product. When I was at Titchfield School, we used to invite overseas teams, and they would come and play Titchfield. And in that exchange, they would bring goods and things and leave for the school to upgrade its sports department. No, nothing goes on in Carter Park. Nothing at all. And the national level will never see football from this region because there are no feeder teams to promote and set up a good club. So those who are in leadership, those who are in the FA, those who control Carter Park, the parish council, there's not even a bathroom in Carter Park. A major venue. If this was in Kingston, it would be a major venue. If people could steal Carter Park, they would steal it and carry it to their parish. But the parish is going backwards because of the backward people who are in leadership position. It's evident in sports. And sport is a crucial engine to development. So I'm saying to the item now, football in the Northeast really has nowhere going. St. Anne's is trying. They have upgraded their field at Draxall. They have tried to put lights there. I don't know if the lights are there yet. But think about Portland. There are no lights in Carter Park. If you want lights, you have to go to Buff Bay. And those lights were put in during my time in Buff Bay. That was a part of the strategic planning when Buff Bay was on the rise to go to the Premier League. The town of Port Antonio is like a zombie town. Even the school of Titchfield no longer plays in Carter Park. Titchfield home matches are now played in somewhere out in Snow Hill. That's a total disgrace. And it's a big stripe against the administration. This is a school where the principal doesn't even come out on the street. Nobody see him. I hear him drive up and down them car with them window roll up. Our previous principals were part of the community. You have to come out and integrate and know what's happening and get a feel, get the pulse of the town. The town needs Carter Park. The town needs light. The Carter Park needs light. Carter Park needs infrastructure. And the parish council must stop looking at Carter Park as simply something to make money at the gate. I've been here for 10, 20 years, and I see the total decline. It's a shame. It's a total disgrace. And it needs to be exposed. You have to upgrade that center. Carter Park should be a central point for sports in the entire Northeast region. International teams who come to Jamaica should come to Carter Park and play a game. Revenue can be made from the park. As long as them stop squabbling about the gate receipts and begin to focus on the infrastructure, then the parish will move. So the way forward is perhaps a twin St. Thomas and Portland football. Because each parish doesn't have the resource to even carry a team through the Premier League. So if St. Thomas and Portland was to become one league, like Kingston and St. Andrew, the possibility will probably increase. The same thing could be done with St. Anne's and St. Mary, where we twin the leagues to produce a greater resourceful team and to improve the chances of the National League looking national with a team from the Northeast. I'm in the Northeast for 2 and 3 decades, and I've seen it from the top to the very bottom. And there's no reason why the football in the Northeast should remain the way it is. So I said to them, focus on the schools program. We need a reawakening at Titchfield School. You need fresh leadership. Nothing wrong with academic strength, because that's always been at Titchfield School. But Titchfield School got its prominence from its dominance in the 80s, in athletics, in table tennis, in cricket, in football. All of a sudden, and netball, those are the dominant forces. All of a sudden now, Titchfield is only known for Scrabble. Can't work. Metamorphosis.
Fly away, fly away, fly away,
The region suffering from weak leadership.
when you're feeling down. Fly away to Palito. Tell me what you're doing when you're feeling down. Fly away to Palito. Everybody happy, never in a hurry. Time is always there. Everybody happy, never in a hurry. Time is always there. Tell me what you're doing when you're feeling down. Fly away to Palito. Tell me what you're doing when you're feeling down. Fly away to Palito. Everybody singing, everybody rocking, moving to the sound. Everybody singing, everybody rocking, moving to the sound. Tell me what you're doing when you're feeling down. Fly away to Palito. Tell me what you're doing when you're feeling down. Fly away to Palito. What you feeling in the morning?
Again, healing up all those who are listening and the various devices in the island, off the island. Hail up to the people in Georgia, into the mountains. Hail up to Grace. Hail up to Caba. Hail up to the ones in Virginia, in California, in New York City, and up in the Bronx there, in Brooklyn. Hail the people in New Jersey, Splash 94 and all the various Lime counties, are the orange counties. Hail the people in Ohio. Hail the people in all the various United States of anxiety. Because that's what Trump have in there now. In a state of anxiety. Very, very difficult place to be. But the world is changing. And it is black people who must adjust themselves and stop looking for salvation. from outside. Metamorphosis, we're into the final 10 minutes of the program. So, go on, hear this.
Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior.
Omnipotent one, magnificent, super, magnificent one. Yes, he is Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior.
Of the metamorphosis, and it is still about the importance on this plantation of Rastafari. Even the identity of Rastafari is under assault. A lot of people trying to declare themselves as to be Rastafari. Enough people telling Rastafari, how Rastafari must behave. And people telling you who is Rasta and who is not Rasta. But I tell the one, say, you don't want the one just see me and hear me as no Rasta, you know. Because Rasta coming like a little slang now. When you say you want to hear, I say Rastafari. Yeah, man, say the whole word. Someone knows, say it's not a little gimmick. Yeah, man, but like Ras, here Ras. It's Rastafari. And Rastafari has a deep meaning. It speaks to the consciousness of the I that sees itself grounded in Africa. It's an African-centered consciousness. So when we have alien groups and foreigners and foreign people calling themselves Rastafari, we must know that the pillars of Rastafari are grounded in reparation and repatriation. So which European wants to repatriate to Africa? But so many Europeans call themselves Africans, call themselves Rastafari. So we now watch that, you know, because Rastafari is a more than culture. It's a deep intellectual and spiritual consciousness, and it revolves around having knowledge of His Imperial Majesty. Not as a representation of any Jesus or any second coming of Jesus, but as a divine African king, a reminder of our kingship and of our divinity. Nothing up into the sky, right here on earth. So there are those of people who are trying to hide behind Rastafari and claim that it is Rastafari why them can't prosper. And that because them can't, that's why them suffering. But it takes a certain amount of suffering to come to the consciousness of what Rastafari is. Because when you start trying Rastafari, you know, the first opposition you get is from your family. Normally, the first people who reject you is your family. Because they become concerned, say, society will reject you. But they say as long as you begin to do the conscious things, if you want to start hold the money, then forget about you being Rastafari and them draw near you because you have the money. So you have to be very alert when you try Rastafari and begin to embrace and get the power of money. Because there's two things you see clearly as a Rastafari. You see hypocrites and you see the parasites. Because the hypocrites will come amongst you and call you all kind of good things because you have the money. And the parasites will come amongst you for the money, even though them don't like Rastafari. So it's all about coming to know the self, the conscious self, the self that is grounded in Africa, African experiences, the African I, and recognize the power of the female. The Rastafari is not about man, not a man-man thing. It's about the male and the female, drawing inspiration from His Majesty and Her Majesty, Empress Menen. It's the foundation of African civilization. It's the foundation of the Trinity, the Father, the Mother, and the Child. So Rastafari will always have a role to play in the liberation of black people. Metamorphosis, Dr. Iman Blak, Styles FM.
Always hear. Sit quiet and meditate. Let the good vibes infiltrate. Even when it's dark, don't you ever have no fear, yeah. Cast away your troubles, I say, just for a moment or a day, yeah. Guiding I eternally. Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I. Whispering inside of me. Guide I. I feel peace and harmony. Our inner voice, hey, it guides us along the way, yeah. In the night, oh yeah, this I heard it say. Lift up your heart, take it.
I also want to say before I go, I want to hear all those who are listening give thanks for the the various texts and the WhatsApp thing. And the last text is coming in from Dwayne from the Most Wanted Records out in St. Catherine. Hailing Brother Mac also in St. Catherine. Hailing also Bora in St. Catherine. Hailing all the ones and ones in Portland, Port Antonio, Buff Bay, Anata Bay, St. Thomas, Kingston, Harborview, even the ones and ones on the UWI campus. Hailing the ones in North America, Africa, Europe, down under, in the Caribbean, and all the ones and ones who have made Size FM their radio station and who make Monday evening now this time for the Metamorphosis. If you missed the program, in the previous program you want to connect, you can visit my website at www.imanblak.com www.imanblak.com, and you're able to look at the previous broadcasts in your own timing and your own space. So we give thanks for another opportunity. Hail up Cassidy, hail up the family at Size FM, and just be positive as we go through this strong. In Jamaica, tomorrow is a holiday, they call it Labor Day, but I must use the time consistently to study and to improve our meditation, widen our knowledge base, set the foundation for posterity. Give thanks, peace, and prosperity unto the I and the I within the workplace, within the family structure, and critically within your relations. Peace unto the eyes. Iman Blak, out.
This is Styles 96.1, the People Station.